Another happy landing.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Hey guys, how are you all doing? So we just got some really fresh rumors and leaks, or whatever you want to call it, and I'm just going to go over them with you. So this is as new as it is to me that it is to... What? So apparently someone has leaked online, or the rumors are that we're going to be getting 4 or 5 new Disney Plus streaming shows. Now, if you didn't know, Disney Plus is basically what Disney's going to be using to compete with Netflix or make their own streaming service for all Disney things and such. Now, I'm not going to make this too long for you, but basically the list entails a young Princess Leia story, Captain Phasma, the Knights of Ren, Rose Tico, and Darth Bane. Now, there are 3 stories here which I think are really interesting. The first one being young Princess Leia. I'd love to see her journey on Alderaan, being raised as a princess by Senator Bail Organa and his wife. I wonder if she would have any latent force powers or dormant force powers that we haven't seen before, or maybe she's coming to terms with, or perhaps she's suppressed, something like that, or maybe it would be more of a political show. The next one would be the Knights of Ren. Now, everyone is obviously very, very fascinated with the Knights of Ren. They want to know more about these guys. Who are they, or girls? What do they do? Where'd they come from? And what are they all about? Episode 8 didn't answer a thing about them and didn't even acknowledge them, but I hope Episode 9 will dive more deeply into them and we'll get some backstory at least. I believe they're also making a comic about the Knights of Ren, as well as a comic about Snoke, so that'll be really interesting to see. Now, something interesting about the Knights of Ren is that in the Aftermath book, basically there were these hooded figures that went to the black market in Star Wars, and they were searching for Darth Vader's lightsaber. Now, could these dudes be the Knights of Ren? Possible, it could be interesting, but I would love to know who they are, and who's searching for Vader's lightsaber, because, well, we know Kylo would be all about that, and what happened to it. So maybe there's, there's a lot of things that they could do with the Knights of Ren show. And the other one, of course, would be Darth Bane. Now, Darth Bane was the first Sith Lord to create the Rule of Two. Before him, there were just tons of Sith Lords and Sith alike, and they were basically just killing each other, and it was just a mass war. Because as you can imagine, Sith would obviously want to be, the strongest, and they would just kill each other out. He came along and created this Rule of Two, basically saying that there can only be no more than 2, a master and an apprentice, and eventually the apprentice must kill the master in order to succeed him. Now, there are tons of articles talking about this. We've got comicbook.com, we've got Bleeding Cool, we've got Screen Rant talking about it. They're saying Obi-Wan series reportedly being... Now, if they make an Obi-Wan series on Disney streaming service, I think that would be a terrible idea, because, well, sure, it would be cool, but I want to see a movie, I want the big budget, I want the huge budget. Not to say that, the shows have small budgets, as we know that The Mandalorian, I think, had a budget of over $100 million for 10 episodes, but I want a movie about Obi-Wan, or a trilogy even. And then, we've got... This is all across the internet right now. So I want to cover it. I'm basically thinking, if they make a Rose Tico show, I don't know who would watch that. And again, I feel like we can't talk about Rose Tico because it goes towards the actress and how she was given some backlash by the fans, which is not okay. No actress or actor should receive that kind of hate for the character that they played, regardless how crappy their character is. And I think Rose Tico was probably single-handedly one of the worst characters in Star Wars. I mean, a lot of people gave Jar Jar Binks flack. I love Jar Jar now, I mean, I always loved him. I never really hated him. I thought he was like a comic relief. He was kind of annoying sometimes, but compared to Rose Tico, I think Rose is the worst written character in all of Star Wars. It's just pointless. There's nothing to her character. There's no point to her, and she's just a filler, pretty much. So if they made a Rose Tico show, I wouldn't even watch that for a second. I mean, unless they're throwing Darth Vader in there somewhere, and I would just be inclined to watch those episodes, but I really wouldn't care about that. Captain Phasma, they built her up to be this really cool-looking female version of a Boba Fett, but then, her arc, or at least from what we know, was kind of lame in the movie. It didn't really go anywhere. She just died. She literally got taken out by Finn, a janitor. That was... I didn't understand that. I was you built her up to be this cool person, and all this marketing and all that, and the toys, and then she just... That's it? I don't know. Hopefully she'll come back. I'd like to see more of her. I thought she was a really cool character, but it was a bit of an anticlimactic death. Young Princess Leia, definitely would like to see Knights of Ren and Darth Bane. Those are the 3 ones that I'm really excited for. And I think Disney's new thing is that they're pretty much going to be covering a lot of shows, because they know that, the budget's smaller, but like we see with Game of Thrones and other very popular shows like Breaking Bad, people are very invested in shows. I myself find myself a lot more invested in shows because it's just longer. You get to know the characters more in depth on a personal level, whereas in a movie you just kind of see the major points of the film versus a show is you really get to know the grit of the character, their personal life, their thoughts, their feelings, and other background characters that affect them as well. So I think a show, you know, is always fun. This article goes on to say, however, the series about the dark side characters both sound relatively interesting. So I'm on board with that. The Knights of Ren are probably the most intriguing and totally underdeveloped part of the current sequel trilogy, and it would definitely be an intriguing and headline-grabbing pick for a streaming series or miniseries. A Darth Bane series would be opening a doorway to an entire new realm of Star Wars universe, which is true. It would actually open the door to the Old Republic, and I think that would be absolutely the best idea that they could have to captivate on this freaking era, you know, because this is all what we all want to see, and we haven't seen that yet. You know, you basically get Old Republic, for those who don't know, is basically Game of Thrones meets Star Wars. It is literally that. You know, maybe without all the incest and stuff. Continuing on here, it says, as the iconic Sith Lord Darth Bane lived a millennium before the events of Episode 1, Bane is responsible for being the bridge between the traditions of the fallen Sith Empire and the new order we know and love to hate. He invented the infamous Rule of Two that allowed the Sith to survive So as I said, he is the one who created the Rule of Two, and I think it would be really interesting to dive into that and see maybe a transition of, you know, what it was like a little bit before, you know, starting out with Darth Bane, perhaps as an apprentice. That'd be really sweet. And then showing his transition into becoming Darth Bane and creating the Rule of Two and everything that goes on with his story and everything that they could like pull into that as well. I think that would be sweet. Because Darth Bane is very much canon. We do see him in the Clone Wars where Yoda fights him, or his ghost rather. Now the next rumor, if you look on screen, is that they're going to be making a Lando and a Han Solo spin-off show as well, and I'd be interested in that. I think that would be really cool. I liked Solo. I thought it was fun. I'm not heavily invested in the Han Solo character. I mean, he is one of the very coolest characters out there, but he's not like, you know, Anakin or Vader or Qui-Gon or Luke to me. So what they do with this character, I'm a lot more flexible. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool. You could do that, sure, whatever. And I thought it was a fun movie. I thought it was cool. I thought, you know, Maul's incorporation at the very end was a nice touch and another way to branch out into another film covering more of Darth Maul. But sadly, I don't think we'll be getting a part 2 to Solo, as it didn't do too well at the box office, and I think that's mainly due to the backlash from The Last Jedi. However, if they make this show, I think it would be pretty interesting, and it would be fun to watch. So that's it, guys. Let me know what you think about these possible shows that we might be getting. This just came up pretty much in the last day, so covering it, let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next episode. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you always.
Fulfill your destiny.